Welcome back to Shut Up and Ball. I am Aaron Chow, accompanied by my co-host John Harris. As always, we are back to make our Super Bowl picks, and I'm sorry, I should have the number. I always forget which number. Not that it matters, but what number is this? It's like 50.
56.
I'm trying to remember.
I don't
58. 58. Because there it is.
58.
So there it is. Super Bowl 58, obviously between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Rematch of a couple of years ago. Like we mentioned last episode, though, different teams, a few years removed, of course, and obviously in Vegas. So we'll see. We're recording this a little bit ahead, obviously, of the game. So who knows if the spread moves or if someone gets in trouble in Vegas. You never know. Vegas be happening. Although I did see the report that both teams are made sure to have their hotels well away from Vegas. It's 20, 30 minutes away. They made sure they have that. So not that it'll stop people from going from Vegas, just make it a little bit tougher in case, some people want to do some extracurriculars in their free time. But anyhow, let's dive into the picks. As always, so a little bit surprising. Once again, there may be technically a home team, but I'm not going to say that there is because it's, once again, neutral ground. It is the San Francisco 49ers, though. They are the favorites. Once again, favorites as of January 29th. Could change. But they're the favorites by 1.5 points, hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, or Chiefs are the underdog. Sorry, excuse me. That's just, once again, neutral site thing. But nonetheless, Niners favored by 1.5 over the Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you have here, John? And we're not doing money because it's no point anyway. So who do you have here and why?
I'm going to the Chiefs. Honestly, once I saw that the Chiefs took the AFC Championship, I was kind of locked in on them no matter what. And I'll be honest, the Lions, when the first half happened, I was like, wait, do I rethink this? Because this is actually incredibly impressive from Detroit. And then San Francisco came back on them. But I just ultimately, it comes down to Mahomes, Kelsey, Reed. They've been here. Chris Jones, these kind of guys have all been here before. They know the gravity of the moment. They know what it feels like to lose, and they know what it takes to win. And I think that certainly plays a factor. There can be a lot said about the Niners because I do want to say that they do have a pretty good amount of their star players that were on that previous roster that was there playing the Chiefs when Mahomes and co. Were able to win that first time. So, guys like Trent Williams or Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa, who I believe were both rookies that year. Fred Warner. Who else was on that team? George Kittle obviously was on that team. Kyle Shanahan was still the coach. Armstead. So you had a lot of, what'd you say? Oh yeah, Eric Armstead. You have a lot of their current star players outside of pretty much McCaffrey and Ayuk who were still on that roster. And so they know what it feels like to lose, and there is that added motivation factor. But I do think that the Chiefs, they just keep finding ways to win. The fact that they were able to completely stall out this Ravens offense, I think is really impressive because the Niners were not able to do so. The Ravens offensively were able to do a lot, and that's also including the fact that, Brock Purdy did throw, I think, 4 interceptions that game. So there was that factor. But ultimately, I do think that the Chiefs defense could have, I don't think that Brock's going to throw 4 picks, but they could have a similar influence on the Niners offense where they just make things super difficult. They make it really tough for them to get in a rhythm and a consistency because that's what the Ravens did when they matched up. And if the Chiefs can have a performance like that where they're causing some fumbles, they get a couple interceptions, all of a sudden it just feels like it's Kansas City's game to lose. And so I feel like the Niners, to me, have a lot less wiggle room in terms of being able to get it done because if the game is close, just being honest, I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes almost every time. So the only way I really see the Niners winning this game is if they take control early and they maintain control the entire time, and that lead is never at potential risk where it's within a touchdown. You need to get up early and often. You need to make Mahomes uncomfortable, and I just don't really feel like the current Niners defense is capable of doing that for the entire game. I do think that they can keep the game close. I'm not saying that the Chiefs are going to go blow them out, but this could be a situation similar to the last 2 playoff games the Chiefs have played where maybe it's close, but in the end, the Chiefs, they come out on top. So I'm taking Kansas City.
Alrighty. And by the way, we both had this exactly. We both predicted the Super Bowl. And we both picked Kansas City going into the year, as you know. Once again, as our preseason predictions, and you can feel free to go back and double check
Yeah.
our work there in that video. But so John going with Kansas City, staying true to his pick. I'm sure that was independent. Same with me. I'm in all aspects just independent of my preseason pick. I'm going with Kansas City also. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned the last podcast with Steve Spagnuolo. He's just, I mean, ever since he's gotten there, he's done a great job of game planning, just throwing curveballs at offenses. And yeah, especially you mentioned this playoffs, that's been a big thing because in Baltimore, they didn't score in the second half, but that defense was able to hang on and create some turnovers, create some havoc. I know you can blame Zay Flowers or Lamar, but nonetheless, like Chiefs did not make it easy on them to begin with. And then obviously who they played round before? Am I blanking? Oh, the Bills, of course. We saw that offense get neutered for lack of a better phrase. Yeah, and we'll see. Be interesting to see the health of Derek Nottie because he's a big run stuffer for the Chiefs, although they haven't had him all playoffs. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm going with Kansas City because also the corners. I think I want to shout out those two young corners, L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie.
Yep.
They have been awesome, and they have been put in tough situations all year. Because Spagnuolo loves to throw creative blitzes that kind of leave them on islands where it's like, hey, you're going to be one-on-one, buddy. Good luck. We just need you to cover for 4 seconds, but good luck. You're not getting any safety help either. Both have been great, and both are interchangeable, McDuffie and Sneed. So I'd be very interesting to see who they put where. And in regards to San Francisco run game, I think we've just seen what's concerning to me too is we've seen San Francisco get off to slow starts the past few weeks, while Kansas City's been the opposite, like I just mentioned. And give Andy Reid an extra week too to potentially game plan, because once again we saw the Lions, they were able to not only run over the Niners, and the Packers also did this too. They both teams had success in the run and pass game. It's just Packers, we were young, we made some mistakes, and really the Lions too, we make mistakes. But like you mentioned, John, Chiefs have a lot more experience, and throughout this whole run, although they did it in the regular season, it's not like the Warriors. Like, I hate to keep using this for reference, but it feels like the Warriors. Like, when they won their most recent championship, they were poor on defense or, poor on offense, just man on defense for most of the year. And then come playoff time, they limited their turnovers on, they cleaned it all up and came to playoffs. They turned it up to another level. And it just feels like that's what the Chiefs are right now. And on offense, it's not what it was a couple of years ago where it's, lighting up the scoreboard with Tyreek. And, who knows if Kelsey would have another great performance. I kind of doubt it like he did in the championship game, but he could. But nonetheless, just doing enough, being patient with Isaiah Pacheco, who, once again, I mentioned last podcast or whatever, has another week to be healthier because he did come into that last game with an ankle injury, but toughed it out. So 2 extra weeks, I'm sure, will help him there. And then they could get back Joe Thuney, who was also like a game time decision, but they didn't. He did not play against the Ravens, and he's one of the better guards in football. And so, yeah, that's all concerning for the San Francisco defense, who is still talented, still very good. But I think we've seen they are human, and they're not as good as they have been the past couple of years. Still a solid defense, but this year they haven't been as good. So it's tough because honestly in this one. The first time they matched up a couple of years ago, I wanted the Chiefs to win personally because, my stepfather was Chief fan, family was Chief fans. But this one's like, in terms of just my heart.
I want the Chiefs to win. I hate the Niners.
Well, even though the Niners.
I also I'm not. The Brock Purdy narratives are going to get real crazy if he wins the Super Bowl.
I don't care about all that. I mostly just, I'm like, I would be fine if Kyle finally gets his and, the Niners do. But I also wouldn't mind if the Chiefs, like we both predicted in the preseason, get that, was it the third Mahomes ring, fully cement the legacy. That would be pretty awesome too, because it would fully reinforce our point too as well. Regardless, win or lose, Mahomes awesome. But some people like to just purely count rings, so there you go for those. It'll be.
Listen, this may sound like a hater, but which I just said I dislike the Niners, so take it for what you will. But I want Kyle Shanahan to go full Andy Reid. They fire him because he can't get it done, and then he goes to another organization and wins, and then your franchise looks back and says, "Man, what did we do? What did we lose?" like the Eagles did to Andy Reid. They won a Super Bowl anyway, so they probably feel fine with it. But yeah, that's my hope for Kyle Shanahan.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. It feels like the Niners are good as long as they keep. We'll see.
I don't think it'll happen. The Niners aren't as dumb as some of their fans are, who actually say crap like that, like they should fire him.
Same fans who are saying that Brock Purdy should be MVP. So, it'd be very interesting to see too. Once again, like in these tight man-to-man coverages, can Purdy, get the ball in there with the right pacing too, because he must been, like we said, kind of has an average to below average arm. We've seen that in multiple moments. Gosh, I forgot to mention it last podcast, but man, there was some ducks thrown. I don't know if you saw, especially from both. It was a bad Goff duck in the first half. And luckily, no one remembered because I think they scored later on. But yeah, meanwhile, you have Mahomes. So it's very interesting. We're seeing one offense that's like studs all across the board. You got great tackle and obviously great skill position players. But on the other side, Kansas City, like they have great interior, good. Okay, obviously CMC is better than Pacheco, but then like Kelsey, and then like. It's not as obviously as good as the Niners offense, but it'll be an interesting matchup all around. Good little chess match to see, what these two teams draw up, and man, I'm not sure. It could be a shootout, or it could be what the Chiefs have been doing all playoffs, like a 20-17 type game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, no one gets in trouble in Vegas, but it's Vegas. Stuff happens. And we'll see, like I said, we'll see if I'm sure there'll be multiple people making trips.